There's a series of things that are true about business to business. And I guess the fundamental point is everybody looks at these labels, DIY, DAFY, all this stuff. And Steve Clegg, who I know you've known and speak to, reverts everything back to two people, a buyer and a seller. And it's about the transaction, and the perpetuation or the continuation of that transaction stream is a function of the relationship. And too many salesmen, particularly in the capital goods arena, go by and how are things today? Rarely do they have a purpose for the call. Rarely do they send minutes back to the customer. Rarely do they make commitments with the customer at each call of what they're going to do next. It's much more a PR thing. And I think you've related to that in many ways. Salesmen are very important. It's a very misunderstood job function. Everybody thinks it's PR and playing golf and going to lunch and hanging around bars at night. It's none of that.
Yeah.
It's hard work if you're going to be successful.
No doubt.
How do you help salesmen become more successful?
Well, I want to go back to Steve Clegg. So I've had the blessing of meeting Steve through you. And Steve, when you and I were speaking earlier today, off the charts sort of intelligence and understanding, similar to you. I know you don't like hearing that. And Steve, very simply, he distilled complexity to simplicity, just like you did. And what I've heard Steve say, I've heard you say on multiple occasions, which is about the transaction. And the transaction is the behavior. It's just a photograph of a point in time of the behavior. And Steve and you, who've collaborated, look at that transaction to come up with very accurate forecasts in the industry. We don't do that, by the way. And I have enough knowledge of the space, though, to understand what it takes to do it well. And one of the challenges is the industry is undergoing a lot of change. And I shouldn't say that. The water's been getting hotter over a long period of time. And it's almost unnoticeable. And it's new market entrants, whether it's call it overseas iron, it's the shift of rental, or the profound growth of rental. I was referencing a presentation earlier today. It was a great one given by Tom Doyle and Brad Lowell at ConExpo. It was actually at AEMP that preceded this couple years ago ConExpo. And I was referencing it because I was writing some work for Built Data about the growth of rental. And when you look at asset classes, and earth moving in that presentation was quoted at 35% of all heavy equipment is rented. For telehandlers, I want to say, just from memory, it was north of 65, could have been 75%. And what's missing in that conversation is the customer. And there's a ton of price wars going on. There's conflict between, call it the OEMs, overproducing or underproducing, the dealer who they're leaning on to sell specific things. The rental industries, which the big three have tremendous market power and their own strengths. And for my belief is that there's a simpler path. If I woke up at any one of those companies, I would be somewhat terrified because the environment is changing so quickly. I think what's really missing is a customer-centric view that understands, of course, helping that person get their job done. And it's not only the margin on the rental transaction, it could be everything else that helps get the job done. Parts and service, uptime, total cost of ownership, predictable costs for the contractor so they can make a profit on their job instead of this downward spiral